Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone is doing good. So I finally, there's only two people? Even though I thought we'd have like more because of, there are random people who dislike Caleb Muffin for no good reason. He's a good guy, so don't dislike him. But I thought we'd get more than two people. Weird. Okay. Well, it is what it is. Welcome the two people who are here. Hi, Haza. Okay, I am. Okay. The notification was late. Okay, no worries. I see more people now. I already got somebody called me up. I'm gonna have to figure out how to say this in Serbo-Croat, so I will say this. I don't know how to say hello in Croatian. Can you just teach me? Hello, mass casualty. I need to learn how to say hello in Croatian. Good morning and happy Friday. Hola, amigo. Book. Book. Is it bak or book? That's just like question. Okay. Dobar dan or dobar dien? Dobar dien? Okay. I can handle it. Hi, shmoopy, shaboopy. And I believe in Chinese, I can't do the tones, but it's probably like ni hao. Dobar dan, dobar dien, dobar dan. Okay. Dobar dan, dobar dan. Okay, I'll get it. I just need to hear it once, and then I'm pretty good at picking up sounds. Anyways, I was not going to really address this because it's kind of a ridiculous issue to address even, but I could use some of the YouTube algorithm boost. So, and all the three of them, like this one, like that. That's a plate tone, right? No. Oops, I got the wrong language. In Chinese, I don't know what the plate tone is, but I will message you afterwards. And it looks like I need some lipstick. So I'll do a little bit of a makeup tutorial. So I'll show you how I can wear lipstick without a mirror. Oopsie daisy. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so now, I got this like a few months ago. I got into this beta program for Adobe Premiere, and now I don't have to listen and watch anybody's anyone's streams in order to debunk it. I can just download the transcripts and go because I read super fast. So here, apparently, so Caleb and this guy named Haz, and Jackson Hinkle made like a joint stream about social patriotism. Yep, in India it's considered in India it's considered bad manners to show too much emotion in public. And then I saw the first argument and I'm like, holy strawman. So let's just get started with the first argument for with Caleb Maupin, and I'll remember to mute so that you don't hear a weird echo.
Well, sure. What immediately comes into my head Many times I have had this image in my head of, you know, some average American family enjoying their afternoon, and then there's a comment.
The first problem is that it is an image in his head, not real. You don't, it's an, you can't make a political philosophy out of an image in your head. Not real. But let's listen.
You know, someone's knocking on the door, opens the door. Hello, I'm from the local communist organization. Oh, okay, great. Well, tell me what your group believes in. Well, we think that everyone in this town is a dirty, rotten Euro settler, and your living standard is too high. So we want to drive down your living standard to make it more fair to people in the third world. And while we're at it, we are planning to engage in violence and property destruction.
Okay, here's another very interesting strawman thing. I mean, violence and property destruction is only unpalatable to those who have property and or those who are not property. So this hypothetical is already just getting weird. I mean, it's maybe a hypothetical, but okay, you can make up I can make up a random hypothetical about how we all need to collect. In order to achieve communism, we all need to have a Borg cube. But I don't base my political philosophy out of these hypotheticals. I base it out of reality, data, and what is to be done. What do you mean? I'm not sure I understand this question. Is it truly that bad? Okay, let's continue
tonight and tear this town apart, light some buildings on fire. You know, you'll come with us, right? Oh,
again, this is like I said, it's a complete construction in his head. Let's continue.
And while we're at it, we love drugs. We think drugs are amazing. Is anyone in your family addicted to opioids or heroin or marijuana yet? We want to get them addicted to it because drugs are just awesome. And while we're at it, you know, have any of you considered becoming sex workers? You know, I mean, you know, prostitution. We are all about that. That is our central issue. So will you sign up and join our group? Now,
that is such a... I mean, this is all like okay, so you can't like argue against your own imagination. Stalin talks about how anarchists love to argue against their own imagination. Well, it does not really matter. Then he should show clips of the far left or breadtubers, and breadtubers and far left don't say this. Neither do rad libs. Hold on. Not exactly. So we don't want to talk about better or worst. We want to talk about first. The first step is just talking about what is real and what is going on. And then we'll worry about whether we want to make it better or worse or whatever, because this is just a wrong framework. So let's continue.
Of course, I'm being hyperbolic. No one literally does this.
So don't bring it up.
I think that is the essence of the problem. That is the essence of the problem right there, because I have done actual political work.
The essence of the problem is something you made up in your head. No, hold on.
I have knocked on people's doors. I have sold people newspapers. And you realize that, you know, it seems pretty basic that in politics, the way to get people to support you is to make the case that you're going to make their lives better. People generally vote for candidates that they think are going to improve their lives. People generally support political movements, political ideologies that they feel will improve their lives. However, unfortunately, a lot of our politics on the so-called left has degenerated not into a program and a strategy for actually dismantling imperialism, building a socialist world, but rather kind of an identity that people can buy into. They can be on the internet, they can feel really radical, they can be very angry at the society around them, they can give voice to their very, very, very pent up angry feelings of rage. They don't fit in with the society around them. They realize that there are evil things that go on and other people don't realize them, and they're frustrated, so they feel alienated. That's not real politics. And look, national chauvinism, I've heard that my whole life. This is the greatest country in the world. And if you so much as ask people, like, why is the United States the greatest country in the world? They look at you and go, what? You don't think it's the greatest country in the world? You must be brainwashed. Everybody knows. We all hate that, okay? We all hate national chauvinism. We all hate jingoism. We all hate this idea that the United States is this infallible country that's never done anything wrong. Slavery, Jim Crow segregation, murder of Native Americans, Korea, Vietnam. There's been horrendous things that have gone on in the history of the United States, and we offer no support for that, obviously. But while all of those things were going on, while slavery was going on, there were people like Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman and John Brown. When there was exploitation in the sweatshops, you had Gus Hall, you had William Z. Foster, you had Eugene Debs, you had the labor movement. You had people organizing for the rights of women. During the Vietnam War, you had people who burned their draft cards and said, hell no, we won't go. You had people that ran through the streets of the city that I'm in right now, New York City, with the flag of the National Liberation Front of Vietnam, chanting, ho, ho, Ho Chi Minh, the NLF is going to win. And I would argue that the anti-war activists and the suffragists and the labor movement and the abolitionists and the anti-racists are just as much a part of the history of this country as are the war makers and the colonizers. And that socialism, when it comes to the United States, will be this progressive current in American history, taking power and mobilizing to dismantle imperialism, build a whole new world, raise people out of poverty, and build a better life for people around the world and for people in this country. I think that's a pretty winning message that I would be comfortable knocking on somebody's door with. So forgive me if I was a little bit provocative there, but I couldn't resist.
Whew. Okay. Oh, I forgot the stream rules. I am very authoritarian. Anything that irritates me will get you kicked out from comments and muted and banned. Yeah, literally, you can't. Oh, there is no free speech here, and you cannot irritate me personally. Okay. So, anyways, okay. The main problem is that we're not even at any stage of action because most Americans do not understand what is going on in this world and how this world came to be. So we're still at the stage of understanding how this world came to be. So the first thing is that you have to look at the role American patriotism has played in whether or not it helps in understanding the world as it is without creating strawmen. Okay, I'm going to have to. Do I have a mod here? Because anyone who thinks I don't look into issues really triggers me, because I look into issues 10 times more. And if not, I'm going to deputize Shmoopy Shaboopy as a mod so that he can kick okay, I deputize Shmoopy, and now please kick people out that irritate me. Okay, hold on. Yes, I understand that. Give me a point. Okay. Yeah, Shmoopy, and you can't also irritate the mods. Those are the two things. You can't irritate me, and you can't irritate the mods, and either of those actions will get you muted on the stream, on the comment section. Yeah. So yeah. Now, anything that personally irritates Shmoopy Shaboopy is also going to be not allowed. Okay. So the problem is that most of you do not understand or have a framework for understanding how the role of how the role of patriotism works in America. So today I saw Today, I saw our lovely president making this ridiculous video. And let's just watch a second of it. Oopsie daisy. What happened here? Oh, I know.
You know, ever since our nation was founded, America has been nurtured and enriched by contributions, sacrifices, and dreams of immigrants from every part of the world. Every immigrant comes here from different circumstances and for different reasons, but they all have one thing in common: courage. It takes courage to leave behind all you've ever known and start a new life in America. And Citizenship Day is a reminder that the job of every single one of us is to ensure that America remains a country worthy of immigrants' aspirations. My administration strives to do.
Okay, you want me to show the 3-minute Caleb video again? Okay, I will do that. It's like 3 minutes, uninterrupted. Go. This is weird. The clip is not rolling, but the entire video is 1 hour and 57 minutes. It's on Jackson Hinkle's channel. But I can share the transcript if you want, which is what I did. But so I'm not actually going to be like debunking them per se, but using them as a landing point to talk about how you guys do not understand. About just literally how everything came to be. That's all. Okay. So people's arguments. So anyways, with regards to Caleb's clip, yeah, he just kind of made it up in his head about how things are gonna be going. And by the way, there's nobody. Okay, like I said. So let me show you what, like I said, when they say we're a nation of immigrants where people come for a better life, the point is that it substitutes a dialectical materialistic understanding of why America needs to bring in lots of immigrants in order to uphold the capitalistic system for an idealistic understanding. So I've already read this, but I will read this again. It's a Lenin piece where you understand why does America why are there immigrants in the United States of America? Let's see. You should also check out our clip with Josephine where we read this, but I guess let me do this. And here is this piece from 1913 where Lenin explains why it doesn't even matter right now for these purposes. Okay, I will shut down the chat. I need somebody. Yeah, I will shut down the chat. But I have ADHD and I get distracted. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so now I hope everyone can see this, but let me read some parts of it. Capitalism has always given a rise to a special form of migration of nations. The rapidly developing industrial countries introduce machinery on a large scale and ousting the backwards countries from the world market. They raise wages at home at above average rate and thus attract workers from backward countries. Hundreds of thousands of workers thus wander hundreds and thousands of versts. Advanced capitalism drags them forcibly into its orbit, tears them out of the backwoods in which they live, makes them participants in the world historical movements, and brings them face to face with the most powerful united international class of factory owners. While there is no doubt that dire poverty alone compels people to abandon their native land, that the capitalists exploit the immigrant workers in the most shameless manner, but only reactionaries can shut their eyes to the progressive significance of this modern migration of nations. Emancipation from the yoke of capitalism is impossible without further development of capitalism, without the class struggle that it is based on. It is into this struggle that capitalism is drawing the masses of the working people of the whole world, breaking down musty, fusty habits of local life, breaking down national barriers and prejudices, uniting workers from all countries in huge factories and mines in Germany and America and so on. Okay. And here he gives statistics. Okay. So what you see is the most backward countries in the old world, those that more than any other retain survivals of feudalism in every branch of life as they were undergoing compulsory training in civilization, American capitalism is tearing millions of workers of backward Eastern Europe and other semi-feudal conditions and putting them into the ranks. And then he notices how you get, basically with American capitalism, first they had immigrants from Germany, but then as soon as Germany developed capitalism and there was a lot of more, lot more labor saved, then they started coming to like Poland and Russia to do that. And then once they became Bolsheviks, they then came to China and Vietnam and like Ecuador, Bolivia, etc. When China and Vietnam like improved their standard of living, again, what we see is the migrants come from, like for a while, we had a lot of migrants from Mexico, but now we don't, because Mexico's standard of living has increased. So a lot of the migrants come from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. And so this pattern that Lenin notices is correct. And there's a very good reason. Yes. So what you notice is that and also if you look at Europe's immigrations, it has the exact same phenomenon as capitalism develops. So it is not a feature that is unique to America. And there are many good reasons, and Lenin explains it. One is the fact that they want to underpay low wages as kind of like a scab. That's the first one. And then the second one, I mean, that's the main one. What you notice is that, it's like basically, so what you notice is that, why can't you just like you know that there's quite often, okay. In Imperialism, again, Lenin, here's in Imperialism, in the parasitic decay of capitalism, you again notice what they do. Sorry, oops. Okay, so again, he explains that, one special feature of imperialism connected with the facts I am describing is the decline in emigration from imperialist countries and the increase in immigration into these countries from more backward countries where lower wages are paid. As Hobson observes, emigration from Great Britain has been declining since 1884. In that year, the number of immigrants was 242,000, while in 1900, the number was 169,000. Emigration from Germany reached the highest point between 1881 and 1890, with a total of 1,453,000 immigrants. In the course of the following 2 decades, it fell to 544,000 and to 341,000. On the other hand, there was an increase of number of workers entering Germany from Austria, Italy, Russia, and other countries. According to the census 1907, there were 1,342,294 foreigners in Germany, where 440,800 were industrial workers and 257,329 were agricultural workers. In France, the workers employed in the mining industry are in great part foreigners, Poles, Italians, and Spaniards. In the United States, immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe are engaged in the most poorly paid jobs, while American workers provide the higher percentage of overseer or the better paid workers. Imperialism has a tendency to create privileged sections among the workers and to detach them from the broad masses of the proletariat. So like I said, but a lot of, so obviously all these nations that don't advertise themselves as a nation of immigrants are also a nation of immigrants. But the role that patriotism always plays is, oh, we're a nation of immigrants. And then it's just like people substitute American exceptionalism to like looking at 100 years of economic data and understanding that now if you have a local labor aristocracy, you're gonna you're gonna have to bring in immigrants over so that you can kind of underpay them, and that kind of and also remember that a lot of people got deported. You still get deported. Companies regularly call upon the migrant workers to be the minute they unionize, they deport them like scabs. So it is, and the fact that the immigration system is designed so that you can't break any laws, and you can't also unionize, more or less. So if you break any laws while you're in the first 7 years, depending on your visa, boom, you're gone. So then what happens is that, so like I said, so these are the specific, so immigration in a capitalist country is not new. It is always there. It is not unique to America. It is exploitative, but people cannot understand what is going on because they have all kinds of like illusions. There's a second issue. Why is America, okay, so they'll say, they come to America for another example of when patriotism is substituted for dialectical materialism. People come here for a better life. Which begs the question, Why is there a better life in America? So the first thing we have to understand is why is it that, so what is it that industrialization has done in the past 400 years? Well, the very first thing is that the reason why people in feudal economies had to live in majority rural areas is because you needed a significant number of people literally working in food production, as in making food or farming, in order to raise enough animals, grow food for everybody in the community. So, and the reason why we have an article called Tragedy of Private Property, it explains it, is because the amount of food you can grow is a function of how much land you can plow. So let me see if I can, it's just like F of land plowed. If anyone understands what I'm saying. Okay, I'll just write it down. Hopefully my, you can read my writing. Can you read this? No. No. Is that backwards? I don't even know. Okay, you can't. Okay, so, oh, I know what to do. Okay, give me one more second. Okay, so that was easy. Okay, so food is a function of the amount of land plowed. So after a while, what happened is that they got, okay, actually, let's start over again. So the first automated mass-scale industrial production was the spinning jenny, which is a thing that takes cotton and turns it into yarn. Well, you can do with one spinning jenny in 1 hour what it takes like 100 workers to do in 1 month. So if you own the spinning jenny in Manchester, you would just go around and just bankrupt all the weavers in your region, and then you would get the profits, and then you would hire the bankrupted weavers for super low wages to work in your factory, and then the cycle would continue. You would expand the circle a little bit more. So at one point, they needed more people to come and work in these factories in order to profit for the cotton. But you could not do that without A, growing enough food, B, without actually being able to grow the cotton that you needed to process. So this was like a twofold thing. And eventually they were able to make all these thousands, like threshing machines. So instead of like having somebody, I don't know, like whatever they do with agriculture, like some sort of hard thing where they have to beat like some hay or whatever, they had a machine. And so now you don't need all these extra people in agriculture. You automate that, and then they'll come, and then you can recruit them to come into your factory and work to produce more. So for example, the number one industrialization thing was the tractors, because there's a limit on what you or a horse or a cow can plow, but the tractors can plow like a lot more land with just like one person just driving. So that means you don't need these people for growing food. And then, well, read Grapes of Wrath to see how they like stole their lands. But yeah. So you don't really need them. And then eventually they will come to, like, the only place where there's a job is where the factory is. But this is where imperialism comes to place. Eventually, if you're England, you've run out of all the people you can bankrupt. And you still need more cotton. And in order to get more profits, you also need iron, gold. I guess you need the Kohinoor diamond or whatever. And when you have that, well, and you need that. So what they decided was, oh, let's go to India and bankrupt their factories and blow them up and cut the weavers' thumbs off. Yeah, they literally did that. Okay, well, India is the one example. I mean, they did it more than India, but India is the one example. So you know what was okay? So you know why Gandhi in one of his protests had the, what do you call it? It's called Khadi now, but it's like a spinning wheel, because it was actually illegal for Indians to process our own cottons that we grew. Yeah, you could go to, it was literally illegal so we had to send our raw cotton to be processed in Manchester and brought back. And okay, let me just check. Exactly. It's horrendous. No one should do that. We should always do math. Math is revolutionary, and being dumb in math is counter-revolutionary, because math gives you so many good logical skills. Sure. But again, it doesn't really, that's not quite what I'm getting at. Okay. Okay. Yes, exactly. This is sheep devours people. Yep, that's the part. Yep. You'll realize that. Okay. No, you're not. Everyone can be good at math. All you have to do is believe that you are good at math, and if you spend enough time, you can understand math. That's all you have to do. Most of the time, people who say they're bad at math haven't just taken the time to slowly read, dissect, work out the problem in there, like with a piece of paper again, and so forth. So that's all you need to do. And being mad at math is like the one of the, okay. So, okay, I'll get back. So now in India, okay, this is where it gets a little complicated, and I kind of wish I had pre-made these diagrams, but I haven't because I was not thinking properly and planning ahead. So now, okay, where do we start? So now you have to so now, okay, I just need hold on, let me put a poll. Does everyone understand the relationship between labor and production? If not, that's very important. Okay, now vote in this poll, and if not, I will go over this again until we understand did the poll come? No. Okay. Now the poll came. Okay, good. Again, we'll have to. So the first part is just understanding why this is true and why you need industrialization in order for you to have enough food to feed like not everyone, I guess, under capitalism, but enough people. No, I don't want to. Okay. Okay. So now we got it. Okay. Now there's a second level to. Okay. After we get this initial understanding, now we have a second level of understanding about how economies interact with each other. Because. Oof. That's really funny. An extremely dumb idea. You can't feed like we have 8 billion people. Without these modern implements without these modern implements in order to automate labor, there is no way we can feed the world population. And also remember that all social science within the imperial court is utter nonsense and should always be ignored. So bring me a Chinese anthropologist and maybe I'll believe that. Okay. So now here is a second level. Okay, so the second level is that now if you were to give these, so now let's just look at India and England because it's easy for me because I have very in my head. What you notice is that it's really hard to have slaves or some kind of forced labor. It was incredibly hard for the British to do that too, to force Indians to make tea or whatever, coconut, whatever they were, and cotton or whatever random crap they wanted Indians to make. It requires, like, to force people to work in agricultural for very low wages, it requires you have to point like guns at them and threaten them, and it's very hard. In order to get enough gun pointers, so in order to sustain this kind of plantation economy, you need to get enough gun pointers to be pointing guns at people who are wage slaves or actual slaves. Well, the problem they've noticed in the early on in the British, it's really funny. One of the first freedom fighters in India was an Irish man, and they actually deemed him insane and put him in a mental hospital. But he was talking about, so what happened is that the proletarians, so at first they thought they could just like send their soldiers into India and have them constantly point the guns. But then what you saw in America too, you've seen that phenomenon. They called it going native. A lot of soldiers were like, oh, I'm not going to point my gun at them. They did nothing. They're poor people. I'm going to point it at you, you jackass. And then they would a lot of them would just defect. Well, they had to ward against that. The way they did it is really lots of ways. First is that they would, that's why the British had this mandatory transfer where they had to transfer soldiers to another place every 2 or 3 years so that they could never get acclimated to the local language, never understand the local culture, never understand anything, so that the soldiers are always like blind machines. But they also had to make them not like, they also had to do something back home where people are not questioning too much. Because the minute you start understanding this, it becomes unbearable. And what they did was that they created, they would have to, like, because there was like the profits from imperial exploitation was humongous, they would like just kind of offer trinkets. So for example, in the Britannia Island, since 1900, they had mandatory universal schools. In India, in Zambia was actually the worst. When the British were around, the literacy rate was at 1%. So what you realize is that they started giving these trinkets these mandatory schools kind of helped with the indoctrination, and it made better. Not mandatory, I'm sorry, public schools, sorry. Not government schools, whatever you want to call them. And then they also, but then on top of these, because of the raw material issue, and the processed material issue, the British labor had wages where they could afford these commodities. So if you were a worker in Britain in the 19-somethings, you could definitely afford a blender because it didn't cost that much in comparison to your wages. And in India, not so much. And so let me give you an example of where the American worker benefits from imperialism. See, in America, they have laundromats, and at one point, many workers could afford washing machines so that you don't have to have somebody beating clothes against a rock like this. Okay, hold on. Schmoopy, anyone who's distracting, also, you can kick them out. Like, I don't care. Just kick them out if you are bored. Okay. Okay, you go beat clothing against a rock. Okay, for like 5 cents a day. Okay, so that's the thing, is that in a lot of these countries, you literally, also the second, so we got the, so the fact that in America, the labor class for a while, I don't know if it's still now, did have comforts that the rest of the world did not have, or a lot of the world did not have. It's true. But if you're just saying America's exceptional, America's great, they're not. You're not actually teaching them or investigating, telling them how to use dialectical materialism to conduct a thorough historical, materialistic, scientific analysis of why the labor class is a little bit more comfortable inside the imperial core than outside. You're just that's just the role of American patriotism, is to blind people from that. They're not. So a lot of people say, oh, liberals do this all the time. They're like, oh, we're a nation of immigrants. We always have welcomed immigrants. But then they don't actually understand why or how it happens or what is this phenomenon. And and then people come here for a better life. Why is life better? Because the price of commodities is cheaper in respect to wages because of a functional reason where you need people to be literally that's squad members in the imperial core. So the only way to sustain that was to just kind of elevate the standard of living with labor-saving devices for a little while. So, yeah. And so obviously nobody is going to knock on some random old lady's door and say, hey, you're a labor aristocracy. But we still need to understand how this world works because you can't change what you don't understand. Okay. Wait, what's the question? I missed it. Well, with Vietnam, okay, somebody mentioned Vietnamese patriotism. Let's see. Okay. There are some things in which America is exceptional. For example, carbon emissions per capita. America is super exceptional in that. Number of military bases worldwide. America is exceptional. So you can't just use it you know how liberals use it, but brutal dictator who suppresses his own people, who suppresses all dissent. You can't use it as a shield like that. Some dissent should be suppressed, as we've learned. If their dissent involves genocide, yeah, suppress them. Just like that, if the situation shows that America is where America is really exceptional, such as data-wise, usage of carbon emissions per capita, number of bases per capita, military budget as proportion of government economy, those are where it is exceptional. So it is okay if the data shows that America is an outlier in those situations. Okay. So let's see. Let me see what else. Okay, this is what we call a strawman. So let's analyze what patriotic politics has done in America. So what we have seen is that the bourgeoisie have effectively used it to obscure any understanding of the world and muddle any class contradictions for a more idealistic view of the world to the point where people don't even understand the theory of class conflicts or know what the word class is. Therefore, while they don't have a monopoly on patriotic politics, the way to get change is not via further obscuring the imperial contradictions when they own everything, but it is to help clarify it. And as long as I cannot see how you can use patriotism in a different way as to clarify these things I explained. But if you can, just tweet it out at me, and I'm willing to be persuaded by data. Okay. Okay, let's see. Yes, this may be true, but right now the biggest problem is that the world is burning and most Americans have absolutely no clue what's going on. There's been too much alienation from labor. Okay. Well, again, it's because their patriotism came from understanding the world as it is and then fixing an actual problem, which is these psychos who are napalming everything. In the US, our problem is that there are too many psychos who are willing to napalm everything in the third world without question. And they can be deployed all over the world. Like, how many US soldiers defect? Almost none. Because they've been created a pretty decent reality where all this nonsense is allowed. And so that is the main problem. So you can't really fix people's non-understanding and implications. Okay, like I said, American exceptionalism is only bad if it's not true. Exactly. Well, and what you do with what caused the patriotism. So in Vietnam, it was caused because these the Ho Chi Minh's army kicked out these jackasses who are killing everything that moves. But that's not the same function. The function that patriotism plays in America is creating jackasses who kill everything that moves. And that is the main difference. And in order to not don't think of this the reason why right-wingers own all the symbols of American culture is because they own all the media in America. America has no non-bourgeoisie media. They own everything is it's a bourgeoisie state where they control every single point of the apparatus. So as long as it is a bourgeoisie state, the right wing will always own all the symbols of American culture. No, nothing else around it. No, nothing else around it. Am I saying that? No, I'm not saying that. Okay. I was not talking about patriotism. I was talking about symbols. Symbols, I was saying there is a dialectical materialistic reason for why the right wing has a monopoly on all symbols of American culture. My main point is that the way the people in power deploy the patriotism is to obscure the proletariat's understanding of how the world functions. That is the most basic thing. You can't fix what you don't understand. So we don't have there is no left apparatus to impart good patriotism for your good country. what we have is we can either help people pass through the dialectical, like pass through and reject the idealistic reason, or not, or continue to not understand, not strategize in a dialectical way and just argue about strawmen about the working class that don't really exist anywhere except your head. Okay. It always was a tool. And like a hammer, it's okay if you're trying to hit a nail, but it's probably not okay if you're sledgehammering a baby's head. It depends on how you use it. No, math is not a lot harder to understand than this, because people have, even within the imperial core, you kind of need to understand math, because if you want to manufacture some crap and you're off with the tolerance, they won't fit each other. But if you're within the imperial core, your life, there is enough comforts in your life that you are more prone to believing the bourgeoisie idealism, which is the opposite of dialectical materialism. Because they don't want to be educated on this, because they are just as comfortable. Usually the way historically people have gotten educated on this is because their life super sucks and they're very, very poor. And then, so that's why, like, what you'll notice is that, like, the US government can get away with lying to its people far more than any other government in the world. It's really hard to lie to, like, poor people, because they understand a lot more than you think, because they're living it. And so, unfortunately, the problem is that if somebody's life, because the bourgeoisie spend so much effort to instill a hegemony, they own the education. So you're educated inside the imperial core for at least 12 years, if you go to from age 5 to 18. Then you have the college. So this is what they do. If you're like in, say, engineering, math, physics, they'll teach you dialectical materialism, but only for you to deploy it within that narrow field. And then they won't, and then, like, when you take and then there's also the what I call utter nonsense, which is everything else. Like humanities is utter nonsense within the imperial core, because you are not allowed to study it using a scientific method, but that's banned, actually. So what you get is like utter, like, there was an anthropologist a few weeks ago, months ago maybe, she was talking about Cuban elections, and if you used her standard, like, America under slavery would be, like, more democratic than America after slavery, which is like, what kind of standard is this? But that's because the anthropologists within the imperial core have a function of manufacturing of consent. So, but like I said, people who are very comfortable, will not, just don't want to be educated on this. They prefer to wallow in their delusions, because they're just as comfortable. It's like really hard. Like, I tried. It's impossible to make them see if they don't life. There's no, I don't know what all math is. I don't know. I don't know what Ayurvedic math is, to be honest. See, okay. Who cares about the flag? It is just a flag. And it's ugly flag, but I don't care. Like, it's like you don't worry about symbols. You can do whatever you want with symbols once you own the state media apparatus. Okay. Okay. He can't, because it's not the flag that causes the right wing to be powerful, but the fact that they own the state apparatus. He is confusing cause and effect. The reason why the flag is a right-wing symbol is because the right wing own the state. Simple as that. See, any other questions? Well, good night. Yep, that's on purpose. In the third world, you're not allowed to be bad in math. It's like, yeah. And the teacher doesn't even know math half the time. So that is also on purpose, so that you don't, math gives you analytical skills from which we can analyze the world. For example, if somebody says America's a democracy, I do what I learned in math class, where I first have a definition. What is a democracy? It is a place where people have autonomy and cannot be overruled by capital or something, whatever. It doesn't even matter what my definition is, as long as I have a consistent definition for now. And then I can check it against things, and I'm like, oh, the US did this, and it looks like it never passes policy. And here I read that James Madison said the purpose of a state is to protect those with property from those that want. So it's actually anti-democratic. And that can actually allow you to reason out a lot of this bourgeoisie idealism on your own. So yeah, it is definitely done on purpose, and you can get away with it. Yes, it is part of the superstructure. Wow. That's amazing. See. Okay, I'm really hoping, God. Okay. You're not going to get the foot in the door for the huge masses, because the huge masses are just comfortable enough that this ideology poison that's everywhere within the bourgeoisie state is effective, unfortunately. So it doesn't matter what these little gimmicks you use, it's not going to happen that way. You need, and if we knew what else to do, we would have done it already. So we need to kind of, it's not like it's a solved problem. It's just that the essential problem is that very few people in America know what is to be done, or what is going on, or why everything is the way it is, and don't have the skills they need in order to acquire knowledge about why things are the way they are. What is the larger point? I don't understand. That is because because it is enough to sustain the bourgeoisie state, which imparts their superstructure upon the whole society. So there are just enough people who are just comfortable enough to sustain the bourgeoisie state, so that millions of uncomfortable people can have the bourgeoisie ideation in a not very, in a not very comfortable thing. The problem is so remember, okay, let's start. Okay, maybe I need to do a second math equation. Hold on. So So propaganda is a function of owning the state. So let's say P equals F of state. How do I hide this message that I've selected? See, the problem is that the state is there, and so the P will be there emanating from the state. So the reason why the state is there is because there are enough people who are comfortable enough where they can accept the bourgeoisie's ideations and then just go to Vietnam and kill everything that moves. I mean, I know there was a big GI rebellion and all that stuff. Okay, fine. In Afghanistan and exterminate the entire village. So, yeah, that is why millions of poor people are also have bourgeoisie ideations. What was my larger point? I still don't understand. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, maybe, maybe not. I don't know yet. Well, not living standards, but there has to be let me think about consumption has to be different. It's a lot. So, for example, most Americans have never ever had a power out or a food shortage. I mean, a power out. Like no, let me think about. There's a lot of things that's not even within your framework of understanding. Like in a lot of countries, they actually don't create enough power to have water on at all the time. So there's like water hours, like hours where the water comes from the tap and you have to fill it up. Well, doing this makes you, because you don't have water, sometimes you get thirsty. And when you're thirsty, you have a real problem to solve. And that real problem makes you actually go and wonder the mechanics of the water pump, right? And then you'll understand, oh, the reason why we don't have water is because America is sanctioning our power and we have to ration our power. And that's why I was thirsty last Thursday and I couldn't get water until 6 p.m. So, and you can understand the relationship between idealism and being whatever, by reading Mao's on idealism. But that's the essential thing. So that's how it naturally comes. And that's why a lot of people around the world, Americans, get a reputation for being extremely dumb, is because the skill that has not been naturally developed is analysis through dialectical materialism. What don't you mean? Okay, let's see. I have to. No, that's not how it works. The skill you need is dialectical materialism. If you have dialectical materialism and you use it consistently throughout everything, there's only one. It turns you into Marxist. There's no other thing. So if you understand why you don't get power, why there's anything, I mean, it's not hard. But the problem is that Americans, like, there is a level of incomprehension where they don't even have the skills to know how to acquire. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, it's really hard. If possible, it's not easy if there is no real material need for them to do so. Well, sure. I actually prefer uninformed people because on their own, they actually come up with pretty good reasoning, actually, on things that they're familiar with. It's funny. Okay, and the useless, what did the nothing really. What you need to also look at is look at things from cause and effect. So why is the US government, like, I don't know, bombing God knows number of countries, and why have they failed? Well, look at it. And essentially you'll realize that they've been able to create enough like people to volunteer for the death squads with certain conditions. And yeah. Well, obviously it is a huge problem because if we already knew it, we would have done it, and nobody knows this. So it's kind of like you need to be like an Einstein and figure out what is to be done. Like it's literally like it's like figuring out E is to MC squared. I don't know. Yeah, if we could, things would be way different, but we don't. So, but that is basically how everything functions in the US. And what you notice is that, okay, so I know I only got to 3 minutes of the silly piece. What? That's how? Okay, did I answer this? This sounds ridiculous. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Oh yeah, please give super chats if I've enabled super chats. I need the money. Whatever. Let's see. Have I forgotten anything? Oh, I got a copyright notice and got taken down, and I'm trying to figure out what to do in order to not get the copyright and to put it back without getting dinged. So it was blocked. So I don't know what to do. If you guys have any ideas, I would be open to hearing that. Yeah, so it's basically, like I said, those people who are reading about quote unquote. Okay. Oh yeah. Let me just see if I think I may have actually done. Oh yeah. We can also do one more. Haz. What's his name? Is that his name? Haz. Is that his name? I can't find his clip anymore. Okay. So no, we're not doing the Haz clip, I guess. But I can read the transcript really quickly. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. I don't. Okay, this is like. Okay. You can. Okay, this seems like a lot of random defining random words as you want, but who cares? Okay. let's see. Okay. Oh God. No. Okay. Wow. That's just okay. I was just reading the transcripts, and it's hard to understand anything by Haz, so it was not very clear. It sounded like a word salad reading that transcript. I'm sorry, but it's a word. Okay, so that is all I have. And I'm working on an article, I guess, about this too. Do you guys have any? I know, actually, let's brainstorm. Do you guys have any other examples where patriotism is used to muddle stuff? So I used immigration. Actually, that's the only example I used. America is a nation of immigrants is the only one I used. And people come here for a better life. So that was the first example. Does anyone have any other kinds of issues? I like where they've done that. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Where else is patriotism used instead of a dialectical understanding? Oh, yeah, World War One. Yeah, like they are very obscure about it because even though World War One can be summed up by a single sentence, it's like it's a competition between Britain and Germany. Oh God, I try not to address that book. Okay, who cares? Okay, freedom of speech means you have to listen to Ben Shapiro. When you don't have freedom of speech and when the proletariat own the media, no one has to listen to Ben Shapiro. That's my anti-free speech authoritarianism argument. Oh, by the way, yesterday I got quote tweeted by Dan Crenshaw because I said there are nice bridges in China. There's a bridge that's really pretty in China. Exactly. Culture is a tool. Read Gramsci. He talks about the base and the superstructure. Yeah, no one has to hear Ben Shapiro after the revolution where we take away everyone's free speech. Exactly. Like I said, it's someone. Okay, read Gramsci, not Gorky. No, yeah, Dan Crenshaw is like, yeah, it's like, look at a nice bridge. And I had no idea they were going, it made so many people melt their brains. So basically, the bourgeoisie state uses anything that's not used to make stuff that people need. Wonderful for whom? The first question you have to ask is, wonderful for whom and how is it wonderful? And that is where they don't teach people the skills to engage in that kind of class analysis within the exactly. Accountability of speech is very important too. Anything else? Yeah, always ask wonderful for whom, and then but Yeah, remember, base superstructure. So what culture does is it keeps the basis things you need to survive, like blenders, farm animals, whatever. Superstructure is everything that maintains the base as it is. So culture will always be a superstructure for the base. Yeah, like I said, you should use the fact that we will crack down on Ben Shapiro's free speech as a selling point. No more Ben Shapiro. None of us have to listen to Ben Shapiro ever again. And it's kind of funny. Oh yeah. It's more than psychology because it also controls he has a sister. Okay, yeah, we're gonna just crack down, or anyone else like Assange, John Kirikin now, etc. Yeah, so like I said, everything is a tool and it's going to be at the hands of the psychostate. So what does this deployed tool do? And of course, please tell other quote unquote patriotic Marxisms to not make up hypothetical strawmen in their heads, and engage with reality. We always have to engage with reality. Don't ever let them take you to hypothetical strawmen. One of my favorite things is I got to 3 minutes. In those 3 minutes, he had a hypothetical in his head. And those 3 minutes is what I was critiquing. Me? What's nonsense? Oh yeah, one of my favorite things is when they're like, "Oh my God, they suppressed millions of innocent people in the gulags," and then the minute they say millions, you say name one. And then so yeah, always exactly. This is wrong. Words it depends on it really didn't. Well, it's not words as much as communication. And of course, we do communication for a reason. And some kind of communication is banned in the United States. And the reason why some kind of, they obsess over, and then ultimately, I don't mind if you have to ban somebody's right to say Heil Hitler. I don't care. But that's what they degraded the entire thing down to, because they don't use dialectical materialism, is whether or not somebody should be allowed to say Heil Hitler and whatever. Exactly. That is the nonsense. That's undialectical. So what is the purpose? So instead of words, like I said, we need to think of it as a communication. What is being communicated, why, how, who, etc. And what is the effect of this communication? And what kind of society, what does society need? What kind of communications does society need to uphold itself? Like yeah. It is what Caleb did, where he said, "I have this image in my head," and then went on to talk about this image in his head, and then later went on to debunk that image in his head that does not exist anywhere outside his head. Okay. Can you ban this guy, please? He's irritated me. Schmoopy, please ban him. Okay. Sure, why not? Sports is fun. And socialists are apparently really good at sports, too. Oh, God. Okay. It's ridiculous. No, it's neither. It's really neither. Liverpool. Oh, yeah, Liverpool's, I heard, the working class team, and Arsenal is the bourgeoisie team. Aberdeen is also good. I like all. Yeah. I read the whole transcript. Anything else? Okay, I'm gonna leave now. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye-bye.